Colonel, for putting my reputation on the line now. Promising how good this speech is going to be. Now I'm young enough to know the only thing between you and the damn party is this speech. And I'm old and wise enough to know you're not going to remember much of what I said. But after spending 37 years, 3 months, and 3 days in these United States, and I remember most of that in the infantry, y'all know how to bend and grab and be tough and be kind and be wise. The mark of a good soldier. And I want to commend the ladies, spouses, for having the courage to come out with y'all tonight. Because we know sometimes when y'all come to these things, y'all get stupid. And you start doing everything you tell your soldiers not to do. But that's what you should do when you come out to these things. That's been the tradition throughout the history of the Army. And I hope you enjoy yourselves tonight, let your hair down a little bit, and stay in the hotel. But it's good to be here with you. Ladies, I just want to put something in context. After Katrina, I go back to my university and they gave me an honorary doctorate degree. Probably the only way I get one. But since then I have about 7 from different locations. So after we had the ceremony, which was very nice, at Southern University, I had just bought my wife a brand new SUV, so we went riding out in the country. And we got over to Point P Parish, from my home where I went to school and all that good stuff. And we pulled into a gas station. And I was putting gas in the car, I still had my uniform on. And the guy came over named Guy LeBeau. The guy said, Russ, is that you? I said, yeah. He said, man, you did a good job in Katrina. We're very proud of your accomplishments. You made us feel proud over here in Point P Parish. I said, well, thank you, Guy. I said, this is your gas station? He said, yes. He said, is that Beverly in the front seat? I said, yeah, go say hello to her. So he went up there, and they talked and talked and talked about putting gas. And I got in the car and I said, you know, you married, you the first lady of the First Army, 500,000 troops, all over the United States, live in a big house in Fort McPherson. She said, where are you going with this? I said, well, didn't you used to date this guy? And there was a pause. She said, what do you mean by that? I said, well, if you married him, you'd be the first lady of this damn gas station. And excuse me, I want to say it just like a true Army wife said. She said, you jackass, if I married him, he'd be in here with a 3-star, you'd be pumping gas. I want to thank y'all for what y'all done. You are the first generation in a long time in the Army that grew up in combat. Many of you from your AIT station to some old Wembley rotation out the MTC or Hornsville, where you know how to live 10 days without food and water and act stupid and get killed. And one of them rotations that went off to war, and you made us proud as a nation. You made us proud as a nation to see this Army go into Afghanistan, go into Iraq, and never flounder. You never look back. Regardless of what the mission was, as it changed, priorities changed, how we were doing things, you evolved. And you made us proud as a nation. Now give yourselves a big round of applause, damn it. Now the reason I put this slide up here is that our success as an Army came from 239 years ago, from these men in this boat. They were referred to as rebels. They weren't properly trained. Some of them didn't have weapons, didn't have the proper clothing. Some of them didn't have a full magazine of ammunition. But under the command of General Washington, they won our freedom. And they set the standard of sacrifice for every generation since then. to fight the most powerful army in the world, the British Army. Well-equipped, well-trained, one of the finest non-commissioned officer corps in the world, the British Army. And many people have studied for a long time up in the war college, how did we win this war against the British? The difference is that your ancestors fought for freedom. This time-honored thing that we carry in our hearts is instilled in our brain, and we take an oath. The purpose of that oath is to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. These soldiers, your ancestors, fought to give us the right to do that today. This battle occurred on Christmas. Can you imagine what kind of talk that was, Sergeant Major Sanchez? Well, boys, General said we're going to attack tonight. Well, Sergeant Major, it's Christmas. So what the hell I got to do with it? And what did they have to look forward to? If they got injured, there was no medics on the battlefield, not invented yet. There was no plasma, there was no high-speed combat lifesaver program, none of that. Matter of fact, if you got permanently injured, there wasn't even a VA. You were on your own. And to talk about how hard things were, General Washington, on the night of this battle, 50% of his troops were absent. Some were AWOL, and many were injured from the bitter cold weather. Our capital in New York had been burned, and the one in Philadelphia was threatened. It was the darkest hours of the beginning of our nation, carried on the back of soldiers, just like you. Many of them amateur soldiers, with a few regulars and militia and National Guard sprinkled in. 50% not ready for battle that night. They didn't have boats. Where do you think you get the boats from? They practice an old Army system called TOPS. Anybody know what that is? Old Army supply system called TOPS. Take other people's stuff. And if the ladies weren't here, that S means something else. Actually, they left a little note, said we're going out, save the nation tonight, we'll bring your boat back tomorrow. Which brings us to that point. You've been hearing non-commissioned officers tell you all your life, son, you adapt and overcome. Now, if you're going to get something done, it requires sacrifice. And if you ain't sacrificing, you ain't getting nothing done. You're not leading if you're not sacrificing. You might be doing some form of management. But if you want to get something done, it's going to require you to sacrifice. Your ancestors understood that. What else they didn't have forward to look to? There was no TRICARE, and that might be good. And I heard somebody quibbling earlier about the VA. We're going to do something about that too. But that being said, they were empowered with this concept of freedom. And as an Army, we stand behind a long history. That bumper sticker change every now and then, but it remains the same. We say hooah, and hooah mean everything but no. Now you can have a big old ass enthusiastic hooah. Now we're gonna get all murdered if they start making hooah. We're going on a 15-mile road march because y'all pissed the company commander off. Y'all got that? But it never means no. You with me on that? That's what the history and our ancestors and those who preceded us gave to us. You with me, team? They weren't afraid to sacrifice. And because of that sacrifice, we're here today. And they were empowered by one word, one concept that's in the Declaration of Independence that promised everybody freedom. And the world wasn't fair then. You see, 20% of General Washington soldiers were not free, they were slaves. But it's the power of this concept of freedom that they fought for. Because when you have a team, and even though people understand it may not be fair, But there's a promise that it will be, that if everything will get right, people will stay with you. That's what happened. And you know the rest of that story that night. The words of the Declaration of Independence were so powerful, King George III of England asked the people of England to pray that the words of the Declaration of Independence would never come to fruition. For he knew it would be the end of his form of government. This concept of people being able to live where they want, marry who they want, practice the religion they want, that's what those that preceded you have done for this nation. That's what these first warriors did. And they did it under extraordinary conditions. Bitter cold weather, not having proper equipment, having poorly trained officers, and fighting it on their land. When the British would go through a New England village, they would see if the men folks were there. And if they were not there, they knew we were off doing what? Fighting against them. And they would ravage their homes and take their animals and burn their buildings. This war was on our ground. This wasn't some foreign war. They fought it on our ground. And they gave us a charter. They planted the seed for what multiple generations since them down is now in your hands to keep this nation free. They sacrificed. John Washington taught his troops three things. Number one, do the routine things well. Now you just go back and look at your last mess up when you had to do an investigation and the sergeant majors came down and everybody came down and tried to figure out what happened. I can bet you a fat man and three chuckers it was over somebody not doing the damn routine thing well. Whether it was bullsight in the tank, right? Or adjusting the sights on the mortar. I'm talking about some real bad stuff. Y'all know what I mean? It comes out not doing the routine things well. Good units do the routine things well. And that's what Washington taught his troops. So I embrace you, as sophisticated as we get. This army, Washington started off by training his troops, don't put the horses upstream from the night camp. Take a little while for that one to stick with you. Do the routine things well. The second thing he taught his troops is when you can't be afraid to take on the impossible. All of the opportunities on the other side of the impossible. Can you imagine what would happen on the eve of this battle if Geraldo Rivera and Wolf Blitzer was out on the battlefield? Look at George, he's taking the boys out there. Gonna get that boy don't even have no shoes. Look at that. Think about it. They sacrificed, and we're here today as the greatest army in the world. The absolute greatest army in the world. There is none better. Germany might make a good call, but we got the best goddamn army in the world. And that is you. And I want to thank you for your service. And as you move forward and you continue to protect this nation, remember that many have sacrificed much. And it's now in your hand. And I forgot to tell you that third point Washington talked about with his troops. Remember the first one was, do routine well, right? Second was, don't be afraid to take on the impossible. And the third one is, don't be afraid to act even if you're being criticized.
Right.
Change is hard. There's a lot of changes in this army. You can go back and read throughout the history of the army. You can't imagine what the army went through when they took away our horses. Holy hell! They had to keep horses around for another 30 years for the old officers to ride. They wouldn't let them go. Just to get rid of the horse took the army over 50 years. We take hard to change, folks. But if you ain't changing, you're falling behind. You with me?
No.
The mission is how we make it work. How do you make it work? And do it enthusiastically. With a resounding and not one of them you create change. And just remember, it won't be long, you'll be in charge. Okay? You'll be in charge. It won't be long. 8 to 10 years, you'll be the day. Damn Sergeant Major. One day you'll be that Sergeant Major. One day you'll be that Colonel. One day you'll be that General. Or one day you can get out, you can be that President. Please, one of y'all, please do that. Them boys killing me. But that too will pass. As a nation, we have dealt with stupid before. And in spite of them, in 4 years, most of them are gone. But in spite of that, you will always do what you have done, and those that preceded you have done. You'll live by your oath. Because we need you to go out there and recruit the best. And just remember that burden that all of you have taken on yourself and what you're asking these young people to do. Raise your right hand, earn minimum wage, and go to some place like Fort Jackson. And come out there and go to the swamps of Fort Stewart, or Fort Hood, or Fort Carson, or Hornsfeld. I heard a weak bull on that one.
They're not about the box.
So they raise that right hand and they submit themselves to us for training. Remember, these are Americans. And when they raise that right hand, they submit themselves to obey the orders of the officers appointed over them. And the orders of the President of the United States to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And with that, and 12 or 14 weeks later, by your buddies, the drill sergeants, they come out on the arena. And they're you. And they're ready for any mission. You have a great reputation, our Army, our non-commissioned officers, for keeping that tradition alive. And I charge you, our non-commissioned officers, to be the keepers of the standard. At the end of the day, Sergeant Major, who is the keeper of the standard? The sergeants. They are the keepers of the standard. You transcend all the changes that might happen. You are the keepers of the standard. And I commend you, our non-commissioned officers. And I thank you. And our commissioned officers continue to take care of these NCOs, nurture them, make sure they got what they need to get the job done, and encourage them and lead them. And our Army will remain strong. And the day that bump stick our Army strong, I couldn't be any prouder of it. And who would think the Army would ever come up with a good commercial like they got now? Right? That's a kick-ass commercial, isn't it? And that's a good one. Right? That is a great commercial on television. I know y'all busy all the time, you never seen it. Have your wife show it to you. It's a great commercial. And it speaks to the dynamics of what the people of America expect of our Army. Now I've got a little song I'm going to play for you, because my speech is over with. Now when Roger asked me to come speak to y'all from Baton Rouge, I thought the speech was in Baton Rouge. I had to get on the damn road today and drive from Baton Rouge to Jackson, damn Mississippi. So Roger got me on that one. But once I said yes, I said, well, get on the road, sacrifice, and come here. The least I can do is come honor and help honor you at your award ceremony. And thank y'all for what y'all doing, for keeping our tradition of the finest Army in the world. Because the world needs you. People